everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here today, welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'm doing a Q&A, but not a normal Q&A, a Harry Potter Q&A. Take a shot of gilly water every time I say Q&A or questions and answers. So I asked on my Instagram for you guys to send me in some questions, and I did ask a couple of Facebook Harry Potter fan groups as well. They sent me mostly trivia ones, so that'll be fine. That'll test the old noggin, see if I remember anything, because it's been a while since I've read the books, I'm not going to lie. And on my Instagram, I got tons of questions, and I'm very thankful because normally when I write stuff like this on my Instagram, asking for questions for like my YouTube, no one answers. But I was doing this thing on Instagram called Potterific July, and through that I met so many magical people for the Wizarding World community, and they were kind enough to actually send me in a load of questions. So I'm very thankful for you guys. You know, guys, who you are. Love you. And if you guys want to get involved in one of these again, because I might do a part 2, I will leave my Instagram down below so you guys can go and follow me and check me out. The last month has been so magical, full of magical things. I do post my general day-to-day life on there as well, but I'm trying to post more Harry Potter because that's what I love. So that is what I'm going for. So without further ado, let's just get into this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's answer some questions. So because I film on my phone, I can't really look at the questions, so I wrote them down on my DA notepad, and if you guys try and touch it, you will get boils on your face. And if you know what I'm meaning by that, hit that like button right now. The first question I got was, in the books, who's the better teacher, Trelawney or Firenze? And I don't know how to answer this because they're both completely different people. Like, Trelawney's a human, Firenze is a centaur. Trelawney comes from a long line of amazing seers, and she's obviously a seer herself. She saw the prophecy, she predicted Dumbledore's death, spoiler, and she is generally a good teacher. And Firenze is a centaur. He's lived in outdoors all his life, so he sees the stars, he sees everything that happens before many other people see it, and I think he has the general knowledge of witnessing things firsthand, and he's very smart. I don't think you can pick because they both have very different teaching styles and they're both very different people. It's hard to pick, so I'm going to stay neutral at the moment because I don't want to get in a fight with a centaur, and I don't want to annoy Trelawney, so I'm just going to be like, I'd happily get taught by either of those two. Like, I wouldn't mind. Question was, how many staircases are at Hogwarts? I think there's 142. I think, because I was just at the tour in April and I saw the thing saying the sign how many stairs there are. I think there's 142. I'll put it up here if I'm right. Next one was, who was the groundskeeper before Hagrid? And I honestly don't remember. I think Molly or Sirius says it, and I think it's in Order of the Phoenix. I don't know, I think. And the letter O is sticking out to me, but I don't know the guy's name. I honestly don't remember the name, but the letter O is sticking out for me, so I am going to have to pass. I feel my Ravenclaw me is going, why don't you know this? But I will leave the correct answer here. Next one is, how many Quidditch fouls are there? I'm going to say between 600 to 700. I don't think it's over 8. I don't think it's any less than 5. So I'm going to go between 600 to 700. I don't want to give an exact number because I will kick myself if I'm wrong, but I'm going in between that bracket. It's up here if you want to know. What book chapter touched you the most? And I don't remember the name of the chapter. It's from Half-Blood Prince. And it's when everyone's visiting Bill in the hospital wing after he got attacked by Finray or Greyback, and Lupin's there, and they see that Fleur is still going to marry Bill. She still wants to be with Bill despite the fact that he's been like scratched to hell on his face and he thinks he's ugly and deformed now, and Molly thinks, oh, she's not going to want to be with him now. She proves everyone wrong. And then Tonks says to Lupin, like, see, like, I don't care about your lycanthropy, I don't care that you're older than me, I don't care that you're poor, I don't care about this, I don't care about that. I want to be with you because I love who you are, and it's about the person. And it really did touch me there because Lupin's story is so heartbreakingly sad. It touched me a little bit, so yeah, that one. Next one was, what house do you wish you were in besides the one you're in now? So for all of you that are new, hi. I'm a Ravenclaw, always have been a Ravenclaw, and I think just because my boyfriend's in that house, I would go to Slytherin house. And because their dormitory is freaking cool. Like, Hogwarts Legacy dormitory, so awesome. Like, even the way like the door comes up and then they're under the block, that you can see everything that's in there, the giant squid just sitting there looking out into the water would be so cool. And knowing that the windows won't break because Hogwarts wouldn't allow that and you won't drown, perfect for me. If you could bring one character back that died, who would it be? And I'm not going to say Lupin because he would be my answer for everything. Oh my god. On a personal note, I want to say Fred just because I'm a twin, and I know if I lost my twin, I would be like the same. And just because I feel for George, so I'm going to bring back Fred so George can have his other half back. Who is the most underrated character? And I'm going to go based on what they've shown in the films, just because the books, obviously, the characters are more stretched out. So I'm going to go film-wise. I think the most underrated character is Molly or Luna, to be fair. Molly, just because we don't see how powerful she is as a witch, and even seeing her juggle everything. Like, she's an incredible woman, and I don't think we see enough of her. And then Luna, just because everyone thinks, oh, everyone only likes her because she's quirky, she's a little bit different, and people relate to her, and it's like, yeah, we do. But in the book, she's so sassy. She is so sassy, and it's like Harry in the books as well. Like, he is so sassy, and you don't see it. And we don't see Luna get to have that moments where, like, I'm pretty sure there are a couple moments where she's like, I know I'm right, and she doesn't let anyone tell her that she's not, and she knows she's right. And it's so good to see that, because everyone just sees her as this quirky little thing, but she's actually very sturdy and can stand up for herself, and we see a little bit of that at the end, but I'd like to have seen that more throughout. Do you think James was a good kid or a conceited bully? Now, I know that all parents want to raise their kids to be good kids, because you would. You wouldn't want to raise them to be mean or anything. Sadly, these things just happen. I'm pretty sure James wasn't a good boy, and then when he got to Hogwarts, I know him and his friends did cause mischief. Not really Remus. Remus tried to control it, but not a lot. And coming from someone who was bullied, knowing how awful it is, I feel for Snape in those scenes, because it's awful to have someone just pick on you for like no reason. And I think it's weird that James's attitude only changed when he started dating Lily, and then he got prefect for somehow in his last year. And I get it, like, Dumbledore gave it to him through persevering and turning it round and being good and everything like that. But I don't know. I'm 50-50. I'm not entirely sure. I'm 50-50 with James, to be fair. I've always been 50-50 with James. Favourite character and why? Lupin is my favourite male character. Luna is my favourite female character. But my all-time favourite character is Lupin, because he came first. He was, I never related to Harry, Ron, Hermione. I did relate a little bit to Neville, just being the underdog and, like, feeling not good enough and feeling a bit picked on. But Lupin, I don't know what it was when I read him, and then when I saw the films and David Wells portray Lupin, something hit me, and I don't know what it was about him. I could just resonate with him in a way of feeling outcasted, feeling different, feeling that you're not good enough, you're ugly, you will never find love for you, and things like that. And then he had that little small friend group that built him up every day. And like, I had that at school. I had like bullies, but I had this friend group that were great and made me feel safe. And that's what the Marauders were for Lupin. So I resonate with him in that type of way, I think. Do you think Sirius was a good godfather to Harry? Yes and no. They don't show it in the films, which is annoying. But in Order of the Phoenix, Sirius's attitude was just awful. He was a bit mean to Harry. And it was the thing that got me was that obviously he had to hide because he wasn't acquitted of his crimes yet. And he was still on the run from Azkaban. And when Harry had his trial, because obviously he performed magic in front of a muggle, because he did the Patronus charm to protect Dudley and him from the Dementors, and he had his trial, and they acquitted him, and they were like, oh, you can go back to Hogwarts, you're not getting expelled. Sirius was like, oh, I'm annoyed you didn't get expelled because I won't have anyone to hang around with. And I just think that's awful. Like, you want Harry to get expelled from Hogwarts just so you could have someone to hang about with. I don't think that's the right attitude. And he was not as caring as that in the movies. So I think 80%, yes, he was a good godfather. But in that 20% where he just kind of sometimes ignored Harry and then again was annoyed that he didn't get expelled because he wanted someone to hang about with, was just not the right attitude. Let him go to school and get his education. Jeez. He needs to learn how to fight the Dark Lord. Yeah, so I'm going to say he was 80% a good godfather, Harry. There were moments where he wasn't. Why do you think Rita Skeeter was so cruel in her writing? She, well, I think Rita Skeeter was just brought in to show that even in the wizarding world, writers lie, as writers sometimes lie in articles about celebrities in the real world, in the muggle world. You hear a bunch of stories of celebrities that aren't true. They make it up just to make money and sell papers. But then that subsequently ruins the person's life if someone believes that rumor and it's not true. Rita is supposed to represent that for the wizarding world, I feel. Like, she's supposed to make up all these stories and make up all this stuff to sell herself, to be like, oh, Rita Skeeter wrote this, Rita Skeeter, like, to get her name out there, I think is what she's trying to do, as most journalists do. They want to get their name out there. That might involve a little white lie or two, but she just goes above and beyond. Hermione should have kept her in the jar. And this next one is a very interesting question. It said, do you think Alphonse Doge had romantic interest in Dumbledore? Which is, I think maybe once a while we've all thought maybe yes, because Dumbledore didn't really have any other friends apart from Alphonse Doge, and then he was supposed to go on this like backpacking trip with him, like around the world. He was supposed to leave after graduating Hogwarts, and then obviously what happened with Ariana and his mother, and then he had to stay, and he was resented Ariana for it a wee bit because he wanted to go off and adventure with his best friend and see the world. And I don't know if Alphonse had feelings like that. Maybe he did. I'm not sure, because I don't know how much contact they had after, because I know Alphonse went without Dumbledore because Dumbledore told him, oh no, you go. So I'm not really sure, because if he had feelings for Maggie, he just stayed. There was never really any inclination in the books and that he did, but to be fair, there was never really any inclination that Dumbledore was gay. Like, none of us really got that until the writer had to say in an interview that, oh, Dumbledore's gay. So I'm going to say no. What do you guys think about that? Let me know your answer to that question below. Next one is, do you think Dumbledore actually cared for Harry? And this question I thought about a lot when I read it at first. And I want to say, so academically, I think Dumbledore cared about Harry's studies. I think he cared about him being the best he could be, because obviously he knew he was going to face Tom Riddle, and Tom Riddle's mad with power, and then he became this ultimate Dark Lord. So I think he knew that Harry had to have the equipment, he had to have the spells, he had to have the know-how, and he needed to be very clever and strategic. So I think that way-wise, yes. Emotionally, a little bit, because he knew that Harry had to stay with the Dursleys, because the love that Lily gave to sacrifice Harry went through the bloodline, and that was Lily's sister. So in order for Harry to be protected with that, he had to stay with the Dursleys. So he made sure of that every year, that Harry had to go back to the Dursleys. People always say that he's like a grandfather to Harry. He's a father figure to Harry. And in some ways, I think Harry maybe thought that, because Dumbledore was helping him through his years, was helping him to find Horcruxes, was helping him to ultimately defeat the Dark Lord. But when Snape says that line, you've been raising him like a pig for slaughter, you realise that Dumbledore's only goal is to get rid of Tom, and the only way he can do that is through Harry. And Dumbledore won't do it himself, because the prophecy has stated that the only one that could defeat the Dark Lord is Harry. And I think Dumbledore would have done anything in his power to make sure that Harry did defeat Voldemort, that whether that came at the cost of Harry's life or not, he knew it was going to happen, because he knew Harry was a Horcrux. He knew Harry would have to die, and he just sent him in there willy-nilly. So when Snape says that line, you've been raising him like a pig for slaughter, you actually go back and think, did Dumbledore actually even care at all? And to me, I think, no. After thinking about it in my head, I'm not entirely sure anymore. If you were a professor at Hogwarts, what would you teach and why? Ooh. My answer is what I want to say is Defense Against Dark Arts, but I'm not going to say that because I say it about everything. And I had thought about it. I would want to teach them how to fly, because no one mentions this. Like, everyone goes, oh, what teacher would you want to be? And they always go potions, charms, transfiguration, Defense Against the Dark Arts. You're forgetting something, people. Quidditch players didn't just happen overnight. You had to teach them how to fly a broom. I would love to be able to say, you see that girl in that Quidditch team? I trained her. Make me the next Madam Hooch. Who would be your best friend and why? I want to say, my answer in my head is going Luna. My heart a little bit saying Neville, because I think Neville and I would stick together. I would help him remember things if I was in Gryffindor. I'd be like, Like, I would be his remembrall. He wouldn't need a remembrall. I would be his physical remembrall. And I'd be like, Neville, did you forget your, do you remember your potions book this morning? No, go get it quick. I'll stall. Neville, do you remember this? No. And we would have like a little study thing together. I would help him out with classes. And we'd just be outcast misfits together until we grow up, and then we kill the snake, and then we're like, yes. I would help him become the best version of himself. I would. Who should Hermione have ended up with? Oh my god, because in my head I'm going, there's 3 contenders. There's Crumb, Ron and Harry. I think her and Crumb make a beautiful couple. Like, in the film, physically, those 2 next together, you're like, wow, you would make amazing, beautiful children. But I bless Crumb. He couldn't keep up with Hermione on an intellectual level. Bless him. As hard as he would try, I feel. No. Harry, like, that what annoyed me in the movies is them making Harry and Hermione a thing. Her and Ron fit so well because everyone in the films forgets that Ron is actually smart in the books. He knows what he's talking about. It's not just Hermione. They gave all his lines to Hermione. They gave everything he did to Hermione. He is so much smarter in the books because he knows the Wizarding World inside out like the back of his hand. He's had years of it. He's had older brothers in it. His dad works in the ministry. One of his brothers works with dragons, for God's sake. One of his brothers works at Gringotts. It's like, he knows the Wizarding World like the back of his hand. And like, how they give those lines to Hermione is annoying. But he could help, like, her intellect with his intellect with the Wizarding World and her intellect with the Muggle World. Boom! Ron. Why didn't McGonagall find true love? And well, her true love died. She thought she found the love of her life, and then he died, and she didn't want anyone else. Nothing could compare to him, to her. So that's why she doesn't have. She did find true love, but it was taken away from her. So trying to find another true love like that, I don't think she wanted to. It's the same with Albus and Gellert. Albus loved Gellert so much that you never see Dumbledore with anybody else. McGonagall did have true love, but sadly taken from her. So that's my answer. What house do you think Hagrid was in? See, he's got traits of some of multiple of the houses, to be fair, because he's ambitious. He wants to own all these creatures, so that he's got ambition to do that. So that's like a Slytherin thing. He wants to know everything about every creature. He wants to get them. He's always wanted a dragon. He got a dragon. He found a way to get one. So he's cunning as well. So there's a little Slytherin in there. He is brave and stands up to his enemies. He is a Gryffindor. He is in the books, anyway. That's almost like a Ravenclaw thing as well. Like, some Ravenclaws, we're not afraid to be who we are. And I know that most houses are. And Hagrid's not afraid to admit, it's like, yes, I'm a giant, but no one's going to tell me any different. I'm not going to be treated any differently. And that's a very Ravenclaw-y thing. But obviously, he's that lovable. He's that loyal. He's that hardworking. His loyalty is, like, stunned. But he stood by Dumbledore through everything. Like, Dumbledore, he was like, do not insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. Like, his loyalty to Dumbledore is, like, renowned. So I always see Hagrid as a Hufflepuff, I'm not going to lie. If you could sort each character into new houses, who would belong in what house? Oh my god. What? Right, Harry, Slytherin. Because the sorting hats was going to put him in it. That's the only reason I have. I know it's an awful reason. But it would be... And then I've got the Carlin brothers thing on the brain where they did their series of what if Harry was put in Slytherin, and it makes sense that he was in Slytherin, so they made sense that it made sense that he was there. Hermione Ravenclaw, definitely, for being creative, smart. Ron would be a Hufflepuff, I think. Definitely has traits of a Hufflepuff. Neville I would keep in Gryffindor, just from the moment of only 2 different Gryffindor could pull the sword out of the hat. And everyone probably doubted that Neville was a Gryffindor all along, but he is definitely a Gryffindor. I would definitely keep Draco in Slytherin, I think, but only because of how he was through the whole series. But then as the Deathly Hallows comes around, he completely changes because he was influenced so much by his father's opinion, the Dark Lord. Like, he had all the dark influences in his life. But if I was to take him out of Slytherin, I probably would put him in Gryffindor, because he was brave enough to stand up and take a stand and not wanting to be a Death Eater, not wanting to do what he wanted to do. And yeah, I would put Draco in Gryffindor. Albus Dumbledore in Slytherin, just because of what his ambition. He's so ambitious. He wants what he wants, and he wants to get it, and he won't stop till he gets it, and that is very Slytherin. So I would put him there. We're on to the last question. Fred and George, how are they different in your opinion? And it's weird because being a twin, I thought I could answer this. And I can't answer it, but it's going to sound weird if you're not a twin. So I will try and break it down. They always say that there's one dominant twin and one follower twin sort of thing. So there's one twin who is, I'm going to say stronger than the other one, but I don't mean it in that sort of sense. I mean, like, there is always like one dominant twin who takes the lead, who does something, and the other twin goes, oh yeah, let's do that. So I think Fred is the dominant twin and George is like a little follower twin. Like, I think Fred comes up with all the ideas and George goes, oh yeah, let's do that, let's try them. And George is like the one behind it going, Fred's like, well, why don't we try this? And George goes, okay, let's do it. How do we do it? And then it's like building a plan together. So there's a person that makes the plan, there's a person that follows the plan and tries to help the plan. Fred is the one that makes the plans. George is the one that gets them done and sees they're done. That's how I feel they are different. Because Fred's mentioned more times in the book than George. And because of that, that's where I'm thinking there is more of a difference in twins. One of them is a leader and one of them is not like a follower, but like is behind there to make sure things go right. So that's how I think they're different. So that's it, guys. That was my Harry Potter Q&A. Did you guys like it? Let me know in the comments down below. Put a question in the comments down below and I will try and answer it. Remember to like, subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.